Hello there, my name's Card. Here on my YouTube page, I like to make simple little videos about topics that interest me. Today, I want to talk about something that isn't, in the grand scheme of things, really all that important. But I don't think you necessarily have to be perfectly serious 100% of the time. Everyone's allowed to have a little fun once in a while, and this has been on my mind for a bit. And if you're a regular watcher of my videos, but this isn't something you have any interest in, don't worry, I'm sure I'll have something up much more in line with my normal output very shortly. Today's video is for me and anyone else who might happen to inadvertently wander along for the sake of the topic. Because I've been a Team Fortress 2 fan for at least most of the game's 17 years now. And if no one else is going to, I think I might as well throw my hat into the ring to make the video seemingly none of the big established Team Fortress 2-centric internet personalities out there will make. I want to present the comprehensive defense of TF2's random crits. The first point I'll bring up here has got to be as old as the game itself, and something that has only gotten more true with every update and every new weapon added to the game. The gameplay itself has always been balanced around the presence of random critical hits. For all these past 17 years of post-launch support, plus for however long the devs over at Valve were working on this particular version of TF2 before it came out, every class's starting loadout, every facet of all the maps, all the game modes, all the playable characters' speed and health attributes were designed specifically for this game. Team Fortress 2 isn't Quake Deathmatch, it isn't Call of Duty, it isn't Counter-Strike. It's decidedly its own beast, gameplay and mechanics-wise. The fighting in TF2 is nominally about pushing as a team to reach or guard an objective. And it's very relatively projectile-focused, and there's pocketed healing and building up your healer's invincibility meter. All that plays a really big role. All things that certainly weren't all that typical to multiplayer shooters when the game came out, and aren't even ubiquitous now. TF2's combat has always been, and is still, pretty unique, and the developers factored every part of it into the process of making it work. And if you like playing TF2, surely you think it's a good game. If it's good, don't be in a rush to want to see a change to 17 years of established mechanics. And secondarily, any change at all now to how the random crits mechanics works would fundamentally mean a big shake-up to all the current weapons. The weapons in the game are, after all, how you, the player, directly interact with random crits. And literally every equipable item in the game currently, and I believe there's about 170 different ones now, has been made to be balanced with the random crits we've had since launch. The same sort of balance argument could be made here for random bullet spread while we're at it too. But point is, for one thing, you're just not being practical if you want that big of an overhaul that every item in the game would need to be retooled around. You and I both likely know that, for one thing, Valve simply doesn't put a great deal of dev power into TF2 these days. That just is what it is. Should they? Might they someday again? Who knows? But at the moment, the devs simply aren't focusing on Team Fortress 2. And I don't think it would be all that contentious to say that what time and effort they do care to put into TF2 these days could very well be more fruitfully spent on other problems the game has right now. Would you rather what few devs are over there working on TF2 tackle random crits, or deal with the ongoing bot problem? And let's say that's fixed up, then wouldn't the effort still be better spent on porting the game over to Source 2, or doing something about the seasonal event map pool's lack of variety, or addressing the way only a drip feed of cosmetics and kinda lackluster war paints are currently being added to the game just at the behest of a handful of community creators? And again, even if all the labour of doing all that was a complete non-issue, the game is still decidedly balanced around random crits. Always has been. A good game of TF2 can absolutely look like a prolonged defensive meat grinder, but there's a thin line between prolonged defense and a perpetual stalemate. The pseudo-random capacity for someone's attacks to suddenly do more damage and not suffer fall-off at range has always been a means to break those stalemates. And I say pseudo-random because, as you may very well already know if you feel invested in this discussion, the way random crits actually work is that as you play the game well and deal damage to other players, your chance to shoot off a crit increases. It's not completely literally random. And again, this is completely purposeful. The game's developers have always known that it's a fun game mechanic to be rewarded for playing well. That's just intuitive. And don't let any anti-random crits people try to give you any bull about it potentially turning off new players who won't get as many random crits because they're just not that good at the game yet. Absolutely no one is being gatekept from playing TF2 by the good players. I'll prove it. By definition, everyone playing the game today was, once upon a time, new themselves. Everyone was bad at the game when they started. That's just the nature of trying something new. But evidently, people aren't actually being put off by playing against those good players and their more frequent random crits, are they? On the whole, TF2 was doing remarkably well, especially given its age. The player count is perfectly healthy, and higher in fact than many other much younger multiplayer games in fact. And new players are still getting into the game all the time. No one, whether new to the game or full of experience, is actually being put off because of the random crits, and that's never been the case. Because, for all the supposed unfairness of them, and how everyone likes to joke about them being overpowered, the effects of random crits, in practice, are very heavily exaggerated. People that argue they should be removed permanently from the game seem to act like everyone they fight gets random crits all the time and it constantly kills them and the rest of their team in one go. Of course, you do occasionally get the funny glowing rocket that wipes out a small group that makes it into someone's funny TF2 moments montage. But 99 times out of 100, if you get killed by a critical projectile, you'd almost certainly have died anyway. The rocket or the grenade or the arrow still hit you, or the scout got close enough to make all those pellets hit, or the pyro still came out of nowhere and got a few seconds of continuous fire on you. There really is no unfair critical hit. It's just part of the weapon system of TF2. Plus, they're funny. They just are. Random, sudden, unexpected, comedically huge amounts of damage that send your ragdoll flying will always be funny. And again, that comedic tone is part of what's given TF2 so much longevity among its player base. Don't mess with what works. And just purely on a semantics level, I don't think there's any such thing as winning an encounter you shouldn't have. By definition, everyone wins and loses as much as they ought to. Luck and random chance is a part of actual games of skill all the time. In fact, they're just a part of life. Sometimes things do or don't go your way for reasons totally out of anyone's hands. That's been the case forever. Hell, there's random crits in the Bible. Remember David versus Goliath? They've been with us for a long time. Before TF2 was, random crits awaited it. But especially the past 5 or so years, people have been clamoring for the removal of random crits just because a bunch of YouTubers all started pushing for a transition into proper competitive TF2. And that didn't happen, did it? Comp just didn't pan out. And frankly, Valve isn't suddenly going to try and retrofit Team Fortress 2 into a competitive framework anytime soon, now is it? Removing random crits isn't going to make the game any better, nor is it going to fix any of the game's actual problems it's got at the moment. Even just advocating that Valve split official matchmaking as it is now into baroque, separate crits and no crit servers, or hoping that they start shepherding casual players towards competitive style 6s or anything like that, is just really dumb. If you claim to like the game, just shut up and play it and enjoy it. Gearing up to make this video, I went looking around online, reading people's opinions, and I see so many people who claim to be fans of this game just parroting anti-random crits criticism from all those big TF2 YouTubers whose business model relies on generating clicks and comments. you realise they're just being contrarian and advocating a change of a foundational aspect of the game in order to get you to engage with them, right? It's one thing to get taken in by clickbait on a subject you like, but some silly billies out there go so far as to repeat what those anti-random crits talking heads say. Well, here's the most bulletproof possible reason why random crits aren't going to be removed from TF2 anytime soon. Most people actually like them. Even if you think you don't, if you still play the game, then you don't really hate them that much. Not enough that it matters, clearly. And unless a significantly large chunk of the player base really ever cared enough about anything in the game that they permanently walked away from it, then what players want will not drive TF2's ongoing development. Take from that what you will, but that's all I have to say today. Most of the videos here on my YouTube page are about completely unrelated topics entirely, but if you think you might want to hear more from me, feel free to take a look at them all the same. Either way, once again, my name's Card. Thank you for listening. Goodbye for now, and have a lovely day.